Hi everyone, welcome to channel Qtomation. Today we will see about map function in Python and where exactly we can use map function in Python. The map function in Python applies a given function to all items in input list or any iterable, and it returns an iterator that produces the result. And map function is often used to transform the data into a sequence. So in simple language, map function is basically a function in which we can apply a given function. So in map function, we can pass one parameter as a function, and that function will be applied to all the items in input list, which is passed as another parameter, and it will return an iterator that produces the result. So if you see the syntax for map function, so what is the syntax of map function? So map function takes two arguments. First argument is a function that which we want to apply to iterables. So iterables can be a list, tuple, etc. And we can also pass multiple iterables as well. So that function will be applied to those iterables. And it will return the object which is a map object, and we can print those by using list function. Now let's see one simple example to understand map function in better way. So let's take an example of squaring the numbers. Suppose you have a list of numbers and you want to square each number in the list. So let's say I have this numbers list which contains numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I want output which will contain square of each number present in that list. So the output is again another list which is basically square of every individual item present in original numbers list. Square of 1 is 1, square of 2 is 4, 9 is square of 3, 16 is square of 4, and 25 is square of 5. So I want to achieve this output by using map function. So now let's go to PyCharm. Let's create a new Python file. So I am creating a new Python file. I'm naming it as map demo. So first, let's see, I'm defining one list, let's say numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what is the expected output I want? What is the expected output I want is another list which will be basically square of each number present in my original list. So this is my expected output. Now first thing we have to do is we have to define a function to perform square of number. So I have to define one function which will return a square of a number. So I'm just defining one simple function. Let's say define square function which will take one number as a parameter, and it will return square of a number. So how to return a square of a number? So number 2 times stars and 2. So it will return basically square of the number which is passed here as an argument. Now this is a simple function to find out square of a number. Now let's create a map object that will do, so map object that will perform and find square of each number in a list. So how to do that? So let's create a map function in which we can pass two arguments. First one is function which we want to pass. So square is the function. So I will pass this square as a function here. Along with that, the list of numbers. So this is the numbers list. If you see, this is numbers list which I am passing here. and this object we can store it in another variable. Let's say square result. So square result equals to map object of passing square and numbers in the map function. It will return the map object. And if you want to see the result, if you want to see the actual result, we have to convert map object to list. So I will simply use print list of square result. So this object, map object, I am just passing. So we have to pass this map object into a list so that we will convert it to list and we can see the output. So now it will return the output which would be our expected output. So now let's execute this file. If you see the output here, so this is exactly the expected output which we want. It is basically a square of every number present in numbers list, and it is again in the list format. So this is how we can use map function. So let's understand one more time. So map function applies a given function to all items in the input list. So if you see the example, what we have done here is, this is a list and this is a function. Square is a function which returns square of a number, and we have mapped those inside the map function. We have passed first parameter as square function and numbers as a second iterable. So numbers we are passing it as an iterable in the map function. So it will give you output which is basically square of all the numbers present in that numbers list. It will return that and we can convert it to list object and we can print the output. What is the syntax? Map function as a parameter here and iterable. It can be a list, tuple, etc. Map function takes two arguments. Function that is applied to each element of an iterable and iterables which can be a list or tuple, etc. So this is the simple example which we have seen for squaring the numbers. Now let's say using lambda with map. So we can also use a lambda function directly within the map if the function is simple. So let me show you the example. We will take the same example. So now let's use the same example. I'm just commenting this code. Now using lambda function, how we can achieve the same thing. So let's say again, I will just show you by using lambda function with map function within map. So again, let's take, this is the numbers and this is the output which we want. So let's say these are my numbers and this is the output which I want. So these are the numbers and this is the output which we want. So again, what is the first step is, we have to use, let's say, square result equals to map function, and inside this map function we can directly define lambda function which will return square of the number, and then with the comma we can pass the numbers list. So now we have to convert this square result into list object, converting map object to list to see the output. So let's print list of square result. So now if I run this file, it will again give me the same output, which is the square of all the numbers present inside the numbers list. So this is, we have directly used lambda function inside the map function. So we can also use lambda function directly within map if the function is simple. So we have defined numbers, then we have simply calculated map function in which we have used lambda function directly, and then we are passing numbers here, numbers list, and then we have to convert the map object to a list to see the result. And we have printed this result, basically list of squared numbers that we have printed here. So this is again another example of using lambda function within map function. I will just comment this part. Now one more thing is we can also pass multiple iterable into a map function. So passing multiple iterables inside map function. So if you see here, mapping multiple iterables. So I will show you the simple example. Let's say I have one numbers list 1, which is basically, let's say 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then I will have one more number list 2, which is having the values of 5, 6, 7 and 8. Now what I will do, I will create one function, let's say add function, which will take 2 parameters and it will return addition of two numbers x plus y. Now using map function, what I can do, I can produce an output which will be sum of this and this. So it will give you the list which will give you the output of list as 6, 8, 10 and 13. So now let's say I'm just going to use add result. Then we will use map function, in which I can pass add function first, and then we can also pass both these iterables. So I will just pass list 1 as well as I will pass list 2 as well. So let's pass list 2 as well. So what it will do is it will perform addition operation on list 1 and list 2. So we can simply use, let's say result, we have to convert it to list again. Result of add list equals to list of, in which we can pass this map object. So add result is a map object. So now if you print the output, print this result add list. So let's print this result add list and let's see the output. So if you see the output now, what is the output? 6, 8, 10 and 12. So this result add list is basically sum of 6, 8, 10 and 12. 8 plus 4 is 12, right? So this is the expected output. So we can pass multiple iterables as well inside the map function. So this is the example of passing multiple iterables. Map can apply to a function to the items of those iterables in parallel. So we have seen applying multiple iterables and applying function to them by using map function. We have also seen example of lambda with map function. So we can also use a lambda function directly within map if the function is simple. And this is the simple example of map function. So what is the map function? So map function in Python, it applies a given function to all items in the input list or any iterable, and it will return the iterator that produces the result. We can convert that map object to list to see the output. What is the syntax of map function? So map, then we can pass function, and then we can pass iterables, for which we have to apply this function here. Iterable can be a single iterable or it can be a multiple iterables as well. So map function basically can pass more than one iterable as well. We have also seen the example of squaring the numbers, where we have used map function. So that is about map function in Python.